Okay, welcome, Pinkhouse audience. Let me let you know I got a special guest with me today. I'm so excited to have this young lady with me. I've been trying to pin Miss Ashley down so that we can be edified and built up by her story. And so here she is today. I gotta adjust myself because I'm coming out of shot. And I'm telling you, it's real. We're gonna make it work today. So this is Ashley Graff, and Ashley's gonna tell us about her survivorship story. And I'm just excited to learn about her and to see what she can share with us to help all of those out there at whatever stage of their journey that they're on. And so, without further ado, Ashley, go ahead and introduce yourself, and we're gonna get started.
You want me to? Okay. Hi,
Mhm.
my name is Graff. If you find me on any platform, it'll probably be Ashley Z. I never go by Ashley Graff. Never.
Okay.
Just a background. It's my married name. I'm no longer married, so
Okay.
I just go by my middle initial. Would you like me to just tell you what I remember in sequence, or do you want to ask?
Well, first, I tell you what, let's start this way. Ashley, how old are you?
I am 32. I will be 33 next year, August.
Okay, that's young. And when were you first diagnosed with cancer?
I was diagnosed October 2019. I was 29.
Wow. Okay, so see, a lot of times people associate these type of diagnoses with women that are older, women that maybe like when I was diagnosed at a postmenopausal age at 52. And so that's why I was really excited about having this conversation because that 1 in 8 woman doesn't necessarily have to be my age. She
Yeah.
can be a younger woman like you were when you were diagnosed. So my first question to you is before you got the diagnosis, what was happening that maybe made you think something's going on, or was that the case?
Well, I knew something was going on with me, but I did not know what it was.
Okay.
So it's crazy and very funny how I even got diagnosed. I do not exactly remember, and I cannot pinpoint exactly when I started feeling weird. I
Okay.
can't because in 2017, I had my baby. I gave birth to Jackson in August. So
Okay.
um August went around after his first birthday, I started to feel like, okay, well, I did have a baby, but he's a whole year.
Okay.
I'm still having, all this bloating. My stomach still like looks like I'm having a baby. I'm like, okay, well, they say you can't eat crazy stuff after, you have a baby or you'll gain a lot of weight. So I was eating crazy because I worked third shift. So it was like a lot
Okay.
I was experiencing. I was just kind of brushing it off because I had just had a baby.
Okay.
So it was very hard. But then around the time he, turning two, I'm like, okay, something ain't right. Like,
Okay.
I used to be a workaholic. I could work 12 hours easy.
Hmm.
It nothing to me. Every time I couldn't do something, I was just chalking it up to, well, I just had a baby, your body changes.
Right.
Even when I would go to the doctor, they would run tests and they would just be like, hey, your everything is fine. It's just, your body changing because you had a baby.
Hmm.
One point, it was one night I was working third shift. It got to the point to where I would just get so weak and just be so tired, mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. I couldn't even get through a whole shift. I,
Wow.
I would go home and I would just, the only thing I could ever say is, I just don't feel good. And I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong with me. But us women, we know when something's wrong. We
Right.
feel our best. We can't produce at our best. And I could easily look and say, well, before I had him, I stayed at work.
Right.
Working is not foreign to me. I've been working since I was 19. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the fact that I literally can't get through a whole, week or a work week, it was very concerning to me. Like I said, I would go to the hospital, I would go to the doctor, and they would keep saying, something was wrong.
So at a point, did you have to now say, okay, you guys keep telling me nothing's wrong, but I know it's something wrong, so y'all gonna have to just do some further tests, or what happened?
Well, let me tell you how God works. It got to the point to where I couldn't keep my food down. Like
Wow.
one night, I remember specifically, I had been complaining like for a couple days that, I didn't feel good. And I live with my sister, if anybody knows her on her platforms, Olivia J. Hayward.
Oh yeah.
With my sister at the time, and she was just looking at me like, okay, this is like the third time you done came home this week. Because I would usually come home on my lunch break anyway at night just to see my kid, and then I'd go back to
Mm-hmm.
work. And I remember specifically, just remember, listen, I remember being fed up, like, I do not feel good. And I got to the point to where one night I came home. The next day, I remember I came home from work, and I believe the next day I ordered some Chinese or something like that. And I thought I had food poisoning.
Wow.
I had a very abnormal vomit. Like, I
Mm.
remember, like, I had to rush to the bathroom. It felt like my chest was completely on fire.
Oh
And I,
my goodness.
if you got food poisoning, I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to feel this bad, but I was going to the hospital
Wow.
for that one thing. When I got there, they decided that they wanted to give me a CT and check my chest for any blood clots because, of
Okay.
course, what they were telling me was very irregular. What I was telling them, I'm sorry, was very irregular. And they were like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't happen when you vomit. I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here.
Right.
So, long story short, she came back in the room and she was like, everything is fine. And she had a very concerned look on her face and she turned and walked out. Not even 2 seconds later, she knocked again and she opened up the door and she was like, however, there's just something that's not right. Something on your liver. It looks like a bruise or something. Like, it's just something is not, I don't know. We're the we're the emergency department, and there's not really anything that we can do about it. So she told me to call, my
Right.
PCP, and
Mm-hmm.
if she wants to do a, what did she say? If she wants to do an MRI, she can. Okay,
Okay.
well, I called my PCP. She was on maternity leave,
Oh
so
wow.
I had to wait until she got back, and I believe that was like maybe like a couple weeks. I believe it was like a month, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, because I wasn't expecting nothing to be wrong. So here I am, just whatever. Whenever she get back in,
Okay.
God is God is good. But anyways, so when she comes back in, she orders the MRI, and I come back in. She ordered the MRI on like a Friday. I remember it specifically because I had already, when I went to the emergency room from work that night, I went back and I told them at work that they said that there was a bruise on my liver. So from work, I had already set up my insurance to have like a traumatic surgery happen because you can't live.
Okay.
So I had already went there and told them, hey, they found this. I don't really know what's going to be what, but when my PC gets back, we're going to do an MRI.
Right. Right.
Oh, you guys, exactly. So I had already got everything grooving for a surgery on my liver.
Okay.
Very big key part. So, anyways, on a Friday, she ordered the MRI. On a Monday, I got, when something's really wrong, they're not going to tell you over the phone. They're going to tell you
Right.
to the office. So that Monday, I already knew something was on my liver. I knew something was wrong. So I'm still not paying no attention, not really worrying about.
Right.
I get to the office and, they just being very skittish with me. They're not being how they usually are. Usually when I come in, they know me, they know my baby,
Right.
giggling. Ain't none of that going on today.
Okay.
They're not taking my weight. They're not asking me no questions. Go in the room and sit down. So I go in the room and I sit down, but my heart is still not hardened because, I already know something is potentially wrong.
Right.
So she turns on the monitor and she's like, well, I do have good news and bad news. I said, okay, well, I was probably expecting that. So still my blonde self, still not, not even in tune.
I love that one. Go ahead.
So she sits me down and she goes, so there's nothing wrong with your liver. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's great. And she looks at me like, she's still looking at me like this girl ain't got a clue. And then she finally says, however, there is a very big, significant mass inside your stomach that is 10 centimeters as we measure it right now.
Wow.
It has already started to spread into your lymph nodes, causing another mass inside your stomach.
Oh my goodness.
That was just from the MRI. And I remember looking at her like, are you sure that's mine? Like,
Right.
like
Right.
it's, I remember just thinking like, you gotta be kidding me. Like I had the dumbest look on my face for at least 5 minutes. Like I couldn't say anything. I thought it was a joke. Like,
Right.
I thought I had got punked. And even when she was saying everything that she was saying, because at first she thought that I had a sarcoma.
Okay.
But then, they were like, well, this can't really be a sarcoma because it's starting to spread inside her stomach. Hence, when I went back and I told earlier when I was talking, I told you guys that my stomach was not going down.
Right.
Why my stomach wasn't going down is because the mass was just as big as the baby that I had.
Wow.
So
Oh
my
my
baby,
goodness.
was 6 pounds 5 ounces when he was born. I had a 10 centimeter. One mass was 10 centimeters, and it was stuck, lodged up in between my liver and my kidney.
Oh my goodness.
Just one of them. So the little one, long story short, I had about 2 or 3 biopsies, I do
Mhm.
believe. They ended up taking out the smallest one for a sample because they needed a sample because I had a very rare and aggressive cancer. I have
Okay.
something called gray zone lymphoma.
Okay.
It's classified as a non-Hodgkin's and a Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh,
It,
really?
yes, it's a little bit of both. So I got treated for both.
Okay.
Um, I had an A and B cycle. So the A cycle would be for, non-Hodgkin's, and the B cycle would be for Hodgkin's.
Okay.
My chemo consisted of, I do believe, 6 days in total, 24 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So I would go in for one day. I believe I always go in. It's either on a Wednesday or a Thursday because I know I would always spend the weekend inside the hospital. I
Right.
wasn't.
Okay.
So they would hook me up. I would get like pre-meds and one soft round.
Okay.
I think like on Thursday, and it would just put me to sleep. And I would go home that night, and then I would have to check myself into the hospital, and I would stay there for the course of the 6 or 7 days or however long it would take me to recover before they would let me go home.
Mm.
After that, I think I did about 24 to 25 rounds of radiation,
Mm-hmm.
a significant amount of transfusions, a crazy amount of surgeries. It's
So,
been
being that this was such a rare and aggressive type of cancer, did they like have any indication about how long you have been growing this cancer, or were they not able to tell it?
So they were not able to tell me. They do not know if I got it after I got pregnant, while I got pregnant.
Okay.
I did do some research, I'm sorry, and it states that you can have lymphoma for many years before, you know,
Any symptoms or anything?
any
Yeah.
symptoms or anything can appear. And if you're asymptomatic, you probably won't get any because the only symptom I ever had when I go back and look at the symptoms of the type of cancer I had was night sweats.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And I could have sworn I only had those because I was pregnant.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it was kind of masked. Like it really states that you can live. Google says you can live 10 to 12 years without knowing that you have any kind of lymphoma.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's very scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking now, like you said, during the course of the pregnancy, the good thing is that I guess because they're not really sure if you had it during the pregnancy or if it started after. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, yeah,
no way. I do know that Jackson was a week late.
okay.
He was a week late, and I stayed in labor for 24 hours because he just would not. He wouldn't move. He wouldn't budge.
Oh, okay.
I want to say that he was lazy, but then it's like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, if they said there was a whole 10 centimeter mass inside of me,
Like maybe he was fighting his way out.
it's like, and you just never know because even when you look and you're trying to figure out the cause of what type of cancer I have, it
Hmm.
they don't know. There's no real reason to say what causes it or what doesn't cause it. You know,
Right.
they say it could be a weakened immune system or something like that, but there's really no way to tell.
To
So
tell.
it's crazy because I don't know how I got it. I don't know how to prevent it from coming back. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Um. So, since you're starting, once you finish radiation, did you have to make or like I know with me they encourage you to do certain dietary changes, certain uh, d- different lifestyle changes to try to give you a better chance of not getting a recurrence. Were there some of those suggestions that your treatment team gave you?
So believe it or not, they gave me dietary information while I was going through chemo, so I wouldn't get sicker than I was.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's just because of my age and I was so young.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like once I got done with everything, they were just like, "No, you can go back to work. No, you could do this. You could do that." all the things that they should have told me and what not to do versus what to do. I did my own research, but no, I didn't have anybody telling me
Oh
that.
wow! I mean, that might be, like you said, a possibility. Being the youth on your side, maybe. Yeah, because that's strange. Because I would think that they would have given you certain things to stay away from, to things to increase, to try to help build up your immune system and things like
Well,
that.
now, however, like I said, I did make changes.
Right, right. Because you said you did your own research. Yeah.
I did my own research, and at first I went pescatarian. I wasn't having
Okay.
but fish, and I wasn't trying to put a lot of icky stuff inside my body. And I did it for a little while. I started to juice, but then I became anemic because
Oh, okay.
that was a traumatic experience. And then try to take away the most iron that I get from anything else. Yeah, my like, girl, you crazy. So I went back to, a regular kind of sort of diet that I was eating before. And very quickly, I noticed that that was not going to work. Because
Okay.
even after everything had went on, I actually went through, I'm actually about to have a procedure on the 3rd, actually, because I got so much chemo and so much radiation. All of it was targeted to my stomach and reproductive area.
Okay.
So I couldn't eat, I couldn't digest things properly. And it took a minute before I started to see it. But it was like when I decided that, hey, I wasn't going to, like kind of sort of be a pescatarian anymore. I'm just
Right.
whatever I can to get myself healthy again. My body, it was like it just started to reject everything. I couldn't
Wow.
keep anything down. It just kept coming up. So then I found myself having to eat baby portions of meals. I was eating the same.
Okay.
My son eat a bigger portion than I do,
Wow.
more of the food in the house, because I still can't keep us. I mean, it would come up like, involuntarily, like I
Right.
couldn't.
Right.
And it got to the point to where I went to the doctor and I was like, well, I'm kind of scared because, I don't want to become anorexic or bulimic or something like that. I'm
Right.
literally eating because I'm actually hungry. You know what I mean? So after that, I decided that, I would take in more vegetables. I would do more smoothies. I would make my portions smaller, but I really got into the things that I was digesting, the ingredients in
Right.
certain things. Me drinking out of plastic bottles after they've sat inside my car for so long,
Right.
I
Right.
really went in and did a lot of the research that not just caused my cancer, but any type of
Type
cancer.
of cancer. Yeah.
Because once your body is susceptible to that type of trauma, it's like just because you had one cancer doesn't mean that another cancer won't come. Or
Can't
the
grow.
cancer.
Yeah.
It's not to say that, you don't have faith and you don't believe that God will, keep you healed, but you kind of have to do the work yourself
Yeah.
to keep yourself that way too, because there's so many things that cause cancer. God, I'll be on TikTok all the time, and it seems like every ingredient that they put in something, cancer causing,
Cancer
causing,
causing. Yeah.
cancer causing. So you really do have to do your research and keep up on the things that you put and ingest inside your body.
And it's with not just, and what I found for me personally, it's not just with the food, but it's like anything, like your cosmetics, your
Yeah,
what have you, because I know for me, um, I had been searching for like cosmetics that were more plant based, and because again, like you said, you never know what contributing factor you play in it, in addition to the environmental stuff around us. And so that's just always been something key in my mind because, I didn't know I was growing a breast cancer before. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you want to really, as best you can, um, do your part. So let me ask you a question. When did you finish treatment? When did you finish treatment?
believe it or not, God, boy, I tell you, I started treatment, and I do believe my first round of chemo was it in December or was it in November? I want to say it was at the end of November, November, December, December, because I believe I started in December of 2019
Okay.
and I was done with chemo and radiation by May of 2020.
Okay, back 2020. So, because I was curious about the proximity of your dates. I started in August 2017 was when I was diagnosed, and I finished. I think my Radiation. I finished radiation, I think, December of January of 2019, I think. And
Wow.
so my question to you, because I used to go to a cancer support group at work, and one of the things that, of course, everybody talked about was the nervousness that they had, like at first appointments after they finished treatment, as far as a recurrence. Do you still feel a nervousness when you go for your appointments, or are you more comfortable now this far out from your last treatment?
Um, well, nervous is an understatement. And I'm going to just tell you why I personally get so. My family will tell you every time I get ready to have a scan, I start acting like I'm gonna lose my mind. I start acting like I'm about to go see King Jesus right now. And the only the only reason why is because, just to give people an example, me finishing my treatment as quick as I did is nothing short of the grace of God. Because even though my chemo was triggered just to my stomach, I had those masses in my stomach, but my cancer was in my stomach. It was throughout my bones.
Mm,
It was in my lungs, and I had some inside my breast.
wow.
When I did my first round of chemo, I had to have chemo like via basically epidural to shoot up to my brain to make sure that there was none there.
Wow.
My first round of chemo, I didn't think I was going to make it through, because when I got back home, it literally, I felt like if I closed my eyes, like, yeah, I was going to see King Jesus.
Mm,
So every time, yes, ma'am, every time, not when I go to the doctor, specifically when they say, all right, it's time for your scan.
scans. Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I be in here praying, fasting, believing. Listen, I ain't never faith. Man, listen. You listen. Don't, don't scare me with a horror story or something like that. Scare me when it come
You
when it
got
comes.
to have a scan. Okay.
Let me tell you something. You talking about somebody that'll get. Whoo! I be in my car and it doesn't. It sounds crazy, but every single time, it's not that I don't pray and I don't believe,
No, it's,
but it would.
people that don't have this experience, they don't understand. But
No, they
people
don't.
that have lived through cancer, cancer treatment, cancer diet, oh, I get it. It's real. I get it. And so, no, it doesn't sound crazy at all. It's real. And so, because it's like you said, don't scare you with horror stories. People don't realize the journey is a horror story in itself to get from
Self,
the
it's a
initial to where you are now. Yeah, it is, because when you think about it, like you said, even the after effects of what you're dealing with now with your stomach. For a breast cancer person, it's the deformity that you live. You know what I mean? It's a horror story. It's the byproduct of what you are left with after the ravages of the disease process. So I get it. Yeah.
you literally
It,
have to figure out how to like, and I can only imagine how you went from one stage in life and trying to figure out how to maneuver to get your life back, because that is such a traumatic experience. It's like, sometimes I often feel like when they see people that have cancer, they be like, okay, well, everybody done had cancer. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
yeah. Hmm.
Since everybody gets cancer, and it's almost like they want to say it's the flu and they just put a band-aid on it.
Right.
And I'm like, but you guys do not understand what chemotherapy feels like.
Right.
Y'all don't
Right.
understand. My body did stuff through chemotherapy that I didn't even know was humanly possible.
Right.
Like, I mean, you're, oh Lord, I don't know if you can attest to these certain things, but I had so much chemotherapy that I started to trip. You know what I mean? They told me, like, you're going to start to hallucinate. You're going to see people that are there. You're going to have conversations. It's not that much different from you being in a psych ward. It's
Right.
really not.
Right.
As a matter of fact, my hospital bed wasn't that far from the psych ward, so I couldn't get that crazy. Okay. When I felt like I had enough, I told the people, listen,
You
unhook
funny,
me.
Ashley.
I can go home. You think I'm playing? Listen, by my third round of chemo, you can call my sister and ask her right now. I was driving myself there and driving myself home. Wasn't nobody doing that for me,
Right.
because had already made up my mind. If I'm gonna get through this, I'm gonna need all the strength that I possibly can.
Right.
Ooh, baby, when I would ever get my strength back after that first one, I was like, see, listen, say, and I ain't gonna allow you to take me here no more, okay? Because I done prayed to
Right.
Jesus and we right here. So when I get home, I'm going to Target. I'm gonna get me some comfortable pajamas and I'm some seafood. I used to eat steak and shrimp every time I was at home until it was just the mindset you gotta put yourself in,
Yeah.
physically get yourself out of that, because people just act like, oh, it's just an everyday. No, it ain't no everyday thing. It's
No.
normal,
No, and
okay?
I say that to say, I was blessed that I didn't have to have chemo. I only had to do surgery and then the radiation. Um, and but so many of the women that I have met, friends of mine, have had that chemo element, and I just count myself blessed because I didn't, because I hear the stories, and I'm like, it's just horrifying. Because it's like this good friend of mine now is going through chemo, and it's like she says you're almost dying from the treatment
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
try to kill the cancer.
Yes. So
And
exactly how chemotherapy works. It shuts down everything. It's like literally it kills off all the good, all the bad, all the
yeah,
in between. There's nothing. And chemotherapy is actually what kills you sometimes. It ain't
yeah,
really, it's
yeah,
not the cancer sometimes. It's
right.
literally,
It's the treatment. Yeah,
yeah, the treatment. And literally, because I didn't know that I had cancer, it was kind of sort of like when they got me, I was at stage 4 already. So they had to overpack you. And I can only imagine how your friend felt, because once that stuff, it is like pins in. I can't I can't explain to you how chemo pain feels. I really cannot, because it's that graphic. Like literally, when I say, you don't have to scare anybody with a horror story, a person that has went through
yeah.
cancer and then made it on the other side, it's literally like, honey, I already went through my American Horror Story phase, okay? Y'all can keep that. I had episode 2483.
They, but look, you're still
Yes,
standing with a smile on your face, still standing with that beautiful baby by your side. How old is Jackson now?
he is 5. He was 2 years old when I got diagnosed.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow. And so it just helps you to appreciate life. These journeys are very tough, and like you said, people, and the thing of the thing about cancer is such a customizable disease because it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
That disease process it's no, I mean, I don't, we could have the exact same cancers and it's still going to be different
Mm-hmm.
for both of us. And so it is such an insidious disease, and it takes so much. It takes a lot.
It does.
And especially, I'm always I guess my heart just really gravitates to even younger women. Not that, I mean, it's no picnic for older women, but for younger women that are starting out, a new mom, you know what I mean, and all of that, to have to then grapple with a diagnosis like that and such a serious cancer. It's obvious your faith has helped pull you through. You know what I mean? Because you
I
can't come through stuff like that without it.
That is very true. But sometimes I sit down and I'm just like, God, I remember when I first got diagnosed, and I was just like, I remember sitting in the car when I was still in shock and still stunned. I was like, God, you funny. You real funny, because I don't understand how. And I had just separated from my husband at the time. I actually went through my divorce while I was going through chemo.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. But I remember thinking to myself, I was just like, God, I don't understand. You gave me a baby, and I'm supposed to be here to take care of this child, and what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. Like, you gonna give me a sign? Like, it's not that I was ever mad about being sick, because I never could remember myself being mad about actually having cancer. And I think that's actually what got me through, because I was not upset about it. I was like, whatever it is, I mean, God gonna bring me out on the other side, I mean, but Lord, I need you to tell me what I'm supposed to do, because I'm this little boy mama. So like,
Right.
if
Right.
it's for me to make it through this, Lord, I'm gonna need you to show up and show out like right now, like yesterday, because the world don't stop just because you're sick, and people let me
Right.
see that. The bill collectors, they still call. "Hey, I'm still trying to find me a place to stay because my credit score's so low." Like what I'm saying
Right.
is nobody really cares, and I feel like once I don't know if everybody feels like that, but if it helps somebody else, once I realized that, life doesn't stop, my responsibilities, that doesn't stop at
Exactly.
all. Once I finally realized that, then I realized that, hey, there's life on the other side of this. It is. If I keep the mindset that I have right now, I'll make it through. Now, were there some discouraging times? There were. I'm not gonna lie to y'all about
Right.
that. Some very discouraging times. I had asked them to unhook me at the hospital. There's times I've been in so much pain that I didn't think I was gonna make it through the night. But when you when you serve that God that I serve right there, he is something else sometimes. He is definitely a way maker. I will tell you that, because
Right.
there were times that I literally was in so much pain I didn't know if I wanted to do my next round.
Right.
But you think about all your responsibilities, like, what's that going to solve? If I die today, what's that going to solve? Somebody's still going to have to take care of my kid, and now my responsibilities, they become someone else's.
Office.
You know what I mean? And then I don't know, it would just put me in a worse feeling than me actually getting up and trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
actually how I got to the point to where I was driving myself to my chemo and driving myself home after I would get done.
Right.
How? When I look at that now, I don't know how I did that
Right.
at all. But when, like I said, that God that I serve,
Well,
you know,
and that's one of the things, one of the tenets in the Bible helps us to appreciate the power beyond what is normal is given to you. When you're in those moments, and is when you don't have the strength within yourself. You thinking, and all of a sudden, and then when you look back, it's like now you can understand and see where that strength came from. You
yes,
know.
every
But
day.
here's a question that I ask everyone throughout in the story is the word survivorship. What does the word survivorship mean to you?
Survivorship, what does that mean to me? The first thing that comes up in my head is that I survived. Like, I got through it. I made it over to the other side. That's how I feel when I think about that word. I mean, it gives me a feeling like I was there, but I overcame this, and I'm here to tell my story. I'm here to help someone else. I'm here to spread awareness. It doesn't matter what kind of cancer I have, to all types of cancer. You know what? I feel like survivorship is, whatever it is that, or whoever it is that you may believe in respectfully, I believe that is, praying, fasting, having faith, holding on to that. And when you get to the other side, that is your survivorship. Your survivorship, being able to pour into someone else and help them through what it is.
Sorry about that, baby.
No, you're fine. I
Yeah.
think, when you've made it over to the other side, that is your survivorship. That's when you start living in your survivorship, when you're able to be a testimony to somebody else, when you're able to spread knowledge, spread awareness to any and everybody that's dealt with the same thing that you, and even people that haven't.
Right.
Because sometimes when you're able to give your testimony to certain people, even if they're not sick, they're going to look at you and they're like, wow, you really got strength and courage about yourself. And identify, and they're like, I don't know if I've ever been through anything that traumatic, but if I have, that could help me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do believe it survivorship. That's what I think about. I believe that in my heart, survivorship is when you have crossed over to the other side, and now you can walk in the light that God has really chosen for you. Because when you become a survivor, like, you see life in a different light for sure.
Yeah. And that's it's like a lightning rod question, because it's different to every survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Every survivor's picture of survivorship and what it means is totally different. And so I love hearing the answers that come from that question, because it really does help. It's like painting or stitching together this huge tapestry,
Yeah.
And that's what I love asking that question, because each time I've asked that question and the answer I got, it's like another square has been put on this tapestry that really helps you to see. It means so much of the same, but yet it means so much different to
Yeah.
every person that's a survivor. And so, I thank you for that, because that's what it means to you. And again, like you said, for somebody hearing the message, for somebody never even encountering this type of circumstance, or another young lady your age or older, it doesn't matter, being confronted with the diagnosis initially. This conversation is going to help them go forward, because sometimes people might not realize it, but I'm convinced in my heart, and this is why I do this. I'm convinced in my heart that for some women, these conversations are the springboard of strength to help them go to the next level.
I do believe
Because
so.
I believe that in my heart, because what I've come to know, I work in the healthcare industry, and especially since COVID, in the pandemic, I had a doctor prescribe a patient this prescription. The patient was dealing with chronic isolation due to long-term COVID. So, because of long term COVID, they are chronically isolated away from people.
Mm.
And what the doctor prescribed to them was yoga. That's something that they could do in isolation at home, I guess, to continue to have movement, but also to look at YouTube. And what it helped me to appreciate when I was reading the notes is that what this doctor recognized is that YouTube might be the only human interaction that some of his patients are going to have due to the illnesses that have come about as a result of COVID. This patient is dealing with long term COVID, so he can't have close proximity with people. But
Mm-hmm.
he can invite that audience into his house from YouTube. And that just sort of turned on, rather, a light bulb moment in my mind that was like, I know there's a purpose for this. Somebody out there may be in that same position and got to go to that next chemo, got to go to that next radiation, and is so isolated, for whatever reason, that this is what's going to help them get to that next appointment, and be stronger about it, And so that is one of the main reasons why I do this, because I know it's of value to someone. It might not be of value to 100,000 people, but if it's helping one woman or one man, because you have people that are supporting us
Mm-hmm.
with these diagnoses. So if
Yes.
it's helping the caregiver keep going on to give us the support we need, then it's
Mm-hmm.
worth it. It's worth it.
Because
Yeah.
it's not an easy task.
No, no. Mm-mm. So, what would be one of the pieces of encouragement that you would give to young women in your age bracket when it comes to, I guess, because what I will say, you said that I heard is you knew something was wrong. You knew something was wrong, and so I get from that. No, you got to listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is different, because I know, like with my diagnosis, it was because I insisted something was wrong that
Yeah.
they finally did the test that I needed done. And I wasn't going to let them keep telling me, oh, you can wait until your regular mammo or whatever. No, I knew something was wrong. And so,
Yes.
as a young woman, what would be the encouragement that you would offer other young women?
Well, respectfully, I'm gonna say, especially us brown skin girls,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to challenge their authority inside there, because when we walk through the door, we automatically do not get taken seriously. We just don't. And I am living proof of that. If you guys would like to go, look at my TikTok, I just posted a video about that, about not being taken seriously and having a serious illness. You know, um, Not to put any of the healthcare workers down. That's not what I'm trying to do here, but they have so much on their plate. You know what I mean? They think everybody that comes inside the hospital or even the doctor's office nowadays is just blowing up smoke, because they think that, oh, there's so much sickness in the air. When people get sick, they just think that. And although I got sick before COVID, believe it or not, I didn't know what COVID was until my second round of chemo. Yeah, my
Okay.
second, third round of chemo. They told me nobody else could come inside the hospital because of COVID. And that's how I finally realized, what it was.
Okay.
But even so, even before COVID, nobody took me serious. Nobody did. And that's the reason why when I was
And
diagnosed,
do you think it was a dual thing, not just your color, but also your age, or you think it was more your color?
I I want to say I don't think it was my age at this
Okay.
point, because we weren't looking for cancer. You
Right.
know what I mean? We
Right.
weren't looking for cancer. I went in at giving them, my symptoms, telling them, what's wrong with my body. And at that point, when I would keep going to the emergency room just because I didn't feel good, I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what was wrong.
Right.
And because I couldn't come in and give them a diagnosis,
Right.
they're taking whatever test that they're doing, and whatever they're doing is coming back, fine. So I learned very quickly, literally, whenever you feel a symptom, write it down.
Okay.
Write all of your symptoms down. When they start, however many symptoms that you've had for the day, take that into the doctor's office. Never go inside the doctor's office when you don't have any symptoms, because if you do that, they're going to send you right back out.
Right.
Never.
Exactly.
Write it all down, even if you got to do date and time, because
Ooh, Ashley, I'm wondering if you're. There you go.
oh, I'm sorry.
Uh,
It Even if it's not, it just seems like when we walk inside the doors, it's just like, clearly we could be on our last leg, but if the paperwork doesn't tell them, if the EKG don't tell them, if the blood work doesn't tell them that something is wrong, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what you feel like. We ain't got enough beds, you got to go home.
right.
Don't be that person to let them do that to you. You always have to stand firm, because every time I've had to go in there, stand firm, and unfortunately raise hell, that's the only time I've ever gotten results.
Okay.
Now, I'm not telling y'all to go in there and, I ain't telling y'all to go in there and pop no smoke,
But
but y'all can pop off
excellent. That's
in a,
excellent information because women need to know that. And I would say again, with you at any age, like you said, you don't think it's age. Women need to know that. You
yeah,
need to come prepared to stand your ground and say, like you said, document the symptoms that you have. That if there's no takeaway from this at all, that's a major thing to take away. To document what's going on, what's happening, so that when they ask you the questions, you're pinpointing them in a direction to go in. Because it's like you said, if your answer is no to this, no to that,
yeah,
no to this, no to that, okay, we'll see you the next time you show up again to say
yes.
something else is wrong. Yeah,
Even when I had cancer, they would do that. It's very important for you to be able to let them know what's wrong with you,
yeah,
because it's like literally nowadays, it's like they not finna do nothing extra to figure it out.
right,
And I'm gonna
right.
tell y'all again, if the insurance ain't right, they definitely ain't finna do
And
nothing
I mean, you're
to
speaking
help.
truth. That's just the truth. It's the
That's
facts.
it is. It's just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
those are the facts, and it's not trying to, put anybody down. But
right.
as I just feel like, as a brown skinned girl, as they always say about us, we got to go 10 times harder.
Yeah,
Just because somebody else probably wouldn't have to do it when they go in the door, you make sure that you do, because as I tell people all the time when I'm spreading awareness, it's your family that you won't come back to.
yeah,
At you
exactly.
just, that's it'll just be your family that's just SOL. And if you don't take it upon yourself to be an advocate for your health. And me, I always tell people, I have a baby, I love him, and I'm going to get back to him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need y'all to act like y'all got some sense. All of these, all of this that I feel on what day
And
I
take
felt
care of
it,
Jackson's mommy the right way.
yes, because y'all might not care about me, but my son does. And I
Yeah,
feel like every brown skinned girl should have that mentality. Y'all might not care about me, but somebody does.
yeah,
And it's not fair that, my family should have to grieve off the negligence of someone else.
exactly.
If y'all not gonna be thorough, that's okay. I'm gonna be thorough with myself. And
Yeah,
another thing I will put out, they love, I hate when they ask this question, but it is important. So how long have you been feeling like this? Don't give them
yep,
no
yep,
rough
yep.
guesstimate. Don't feel them. That's why I say document everything from the time y'all start feeling like that till the time it stops. Even if your symptoms are no longer and you have to go to a follow-up appointment, from when it started to when it stops.
Stop.
Because even though we might not think, we think that, okay, we're good now, we're fine. But some of these things that we have, these viruses, they need to know that information to tell sometimes what it is.
Right.
Like people
Exactly.
have always said, ain't no question a dumb question except for the one that you don't ask.
Exactly.
Like, don't ever go in there thinking that if you ask too many questions like that, I don't care if y'all get mad. My philosophy is if you get paid for doing it, you're gonna earn your check with me.
There you go.
Because
Exactly.
you're
That's the way it
gonna
should be.
give me the information that I need. I don't care how uncomfortable it makes you. I don't care how long you inside here. Like if you blocked off 45 minutes for me or 30 minutes or even 15, I want the whole 15, 35, or 45. Because my insurance, you still gonna run it for every dime. So the way I
Exactly.
see it, there ain't no reason why a doctor should ever come inside a room and tell you, well, I've had a lot of patients. Sir, I care about cancer patients, but on my time, I don't care about none of them because
Right.
I'm paying for my time right now. The first oncologist that I had, literally, I got rid of him because too many of his nurses would be like, well, he's the best. So he sees everybody. I don't care. When I come, he blocked out this time for me. I shouldn't be hearing about
Right.
patients while he's inside here. And I will say, I'm sorry to be so long winded, but
That's
I
okay,
will
honey.
say, ladies, when you first get diagnosed, if that oncologist seemed like he's not trying to help you or do anything to speed up along the process of trying to figure out what type of cancer you have. Now I understand I had a very rare and aggressive cancer, so it took them a little bit to find out what type of cancer I had.
Right.
But my first oncologist, I'm not going to name any names, but my first oncologist, I noticed he had me a whole month. The only thing he did was draw blood and give me narcotics.
Wow.
I had every type of narcotic. I had oxy, I had Dilaudid, I had hydrocodone. I'm gonna give you every time I went there, he gave me something else for the pain, regardless if I said I was in pain or not. And I said that to say us brown girls, they listen, read between the lines, they just don't care. And I'm not trying to be, on that time right about now. But what
I
I'm saying
got you.
is that, from that oncologist to the one that helped heal me, it
Mm-hmm.
was a big difference. That my oncologist that I have right now has never given me any narcotics ever. Don't just go inside there just because they're writing you a prescription and they giving you this stuff. It's to help kill you.
Well, it's like I tell people, I've been in healthcare for over 30 years now, and what I say is medicine is a business.
It is.
People have to remember first and foremost, it's a business. In the same way you have C plus, C minus students, every physician and provider that's taking care of you was not the A student. See,
Very.
everybody, this is a business. And so you have to go in with the mentality that you're protecting your interests.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, as you said, come prepared, bring the questions, and you have the right to fire and hire whatever provider you want if they're not giving
Absolutely.
you the treatment that you need. So
Absolutely.
what you
Do
said
not
is truth, you
You do
know.
have to keep the same oncologist if you feel like they are not giving you a fair shot, in which I did not, because I don't see how. I'm not telling you I'm in that much pain. Why do I need to have oxy and Dilaudid with
All
hydro?
of this,
That's
yeah.
why do I need to have all of those? You don't even know what type of
I
cancer
mean,
I
you're
have.
masking symptoms and stuff with all of that medication even before you really know what's going on.
But the crazy thing was is that I didn't really even have any symptoms. The only reason why they knew I had cancer is because I went to the emergency room, I threw up, they did an MRI, and they saw the
And
mass.
they saw the mass.
So my question to him was, what was the purpose of all of this medicine? Until my brother finally, he was like, Ashley, if you take that, I will knock you out myself. Stop taking that medicine because he doesn't even know why he's giving it to you.
Right.
But as I stated, before, it's your family that you won't come back to. Had I not had my family telling me, because my mom was pretty deranged at the time. I didn't know if I was going or coming, if
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. But if I didn't have my family telling me, don't take that medicine, you need to get another oncologist. If I didn't have somebody there speaking, the words of affirmation and all the things that I needed into me, that plays a big part too, your support system.
Yeah.
And just to say, my inbox, I'm Ashley Z on all platforms. To any cancer patient, to anybody sick, if you don't have anybody to talk to, if you need somebody, it's always open. It's always open. And when I say always open, there are people that write me that are actively passing away from cancer. One girl on TikTok, I don't know if you see her, she went viral, but she's actually planning her own funeral.
Wow.
I do not mind talking to people because, I remember what it felt like when I didn't have anybody to talk to, when everybody when after, the grand appearance of cancer was over, everybody went back to work, everybody
Right.
to their regular lives. You're still going through treatment, nothing is stopped for you, but everybody can't be there like they were in the beginning. And I remember what it felt like, just wondering, like, dang, I wonder if I could have somebody to talk to that knew what I was going through. But everybody at the cancer center was older than me. I was the young
Right.
one there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember how that made me feel. So yes, my inbox is always open to people that are battling cancer. And it ain't gotta be cancer if y'all just need somebody to talk to.
Talk to.
It's always open because this is not an easy process. It's not. And it's hard to get people to understand if you've never been through it yourself.
Yeah.
It's very hard. But ow, ooh, sorry. Oh Lord.
You all
Something
right,
bit
baby?
me. I'm so sorry.
Oh. You okay?
I am. I
Yeah.
don't know how it bit me, but it sure did. Good Lord.
Well, on that note, we're going to say thank you, one, for your time. We're going to thank you for your eye-opening story. And it was eye-opening on so many levels. One, being a young woman, a young mother, and then the tenacity that you gained from that experience to be the fighter that you are now. And not just a fighter for yourself, but a champion, like you said, for other people. There's
Yes.
so many people dealing with major disease processes that are alone.
Yeah.
And so they need an outlet, like you said, your inbox, your TikTok, the Pinkhouse. They need these outlets to give them, one, the support, the comfort, and to feel less alone in dealing with such scary topics. Because when you get these diagnoses right off the bat, you have so much heavy weighted information flooding you to make a decision. You know what I mean? You got to make this decision, and it's all coming at you in lightning bolt speed. And so, having put yourself out there to let people know that you're a support for them as well, it's a beautiful thing, because it's paying it forward. You know, because everybody doesn't have that support network, like you said, the family like you have, the friends and family that helped me deal with my cancer battle. Everybody doesn't have it, and so again, from the bottom of my heart, like I told you, this was an honor for me, a treat. I've been looking forward to us having this conversation for a very
Me
long time.
too.
I love your sister, Olivia. In full disclosure, was the one that told me you gotta talk to my sister, and so from that moment on, I've been trying to have this conversation with you. But
Oh,
like
I'm
I
sure
said,
you say that because it was I think I processed it okay, but sometimes I wonder about her process because how you can be in a state of denial.
mhm,
I feel like she was in a state of denial because she just needed it not to be true. Like
mhm.
this really can't be happening. Like this is maybe I'll wake up tomorrow
And it won't be, yeah,
and it
yeah,
won't be. And I'm laughing about that now. But when I would see her, I didn't know how to give it to him other than straight because that's how they
yeah.
get to me. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to, So I remember sending them text messages and telling them where it was inside my body. And my brother's like, Ashley, you don't send nobody no text message like that. Well, I don't know what y'all expect me to do, but I just remember her face every time. It was like a confirmation. It was just like it was eating her up because literally what I had already knew and what I had already made peace with, she hadn't yet.
Hadn't
You
yet.
know what I mean? It was just like, no, this doctor is gonna come back and he's gonna say, it might be something, but it's not cancer. You know what I mean?
Right.
But seeing my brother and my sister's face actually kind of tore me up even more because it's like, I don't know how to be soft. Like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you're so strong enough to actually get through it.
Yeah.
So it's like, sorry, not sorry, but I got time to babysit y'all right now, okay? I need y'all to be strong so y'all can keep me strong. That's what I
Strong, right. Yep. And then it's to put them bands together and you're holding each other up. Really. That's
yeah.
basically what it is. Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. Like even talking to you right now, it's so surreal because like, I keep seeing this at the bottom of this word survivorship at the bottom of this, and I keep looking and I keep thinking to myself, it's very surreal because while you're going through it, you can't see it. You can't
Right.
be just doing what you got to do. But when you're on the other
Other
side,
side.
living in your survivorship, like right now, it's still so very surreal to me that I even went through that. Even though
Yeah.
I went through it, it is still so surreal of everything that I went through, because even after my radiation, that wasn't it. I've
Yeah.
had maybe a couple surgeries, one or two surgeries since then.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had, and I have another procedure coming up. So it hasn't just, you know what I mean? It just,
It didn't just stop. Right.
there. But even though I'm going through all of this right now, like I said, it's just it's very surreal to go back and even see the stuff that you go through. So yes, being an advocate, being, for people that, just can't process it. It's like, so I see it every day on TikTok. People,
Yeah.
I thought I got cancer today, and unfortunately it's getting so normal. You starting to see it every
Yeah.
5 seconds, and it's like, at this point.
Yeah, look, let me tell you, I'm in Maryland, and I'll never forget. Years ago, I was a young woman. I think maybe I might not even have been out of my teens, so I might have been like, I want to say maybe like between 16 and 18. And I'll never forget, I saw a special on PBS, and it was talking about the Industrial Revolution and pollution and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things it said is that if you lived in Maryland, the question wasn't going to be if you get cancer, it was going to be when, because of how high the pollutants and everything were. And that stuck with me. And so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that came back to my mind. And I'm like, you're seeing the proliferation of people that are
Mhm.
now, saying and sharing that they have these
Yeah.
disease processes. Yeah, it's like, and that has just always stuck with me. It was just a matter of when was I getting it, not if, based on that thing that I saw when I was in my teens, yeah. So it's the world we live in, honey. And fortunately, those of us that are, like you said, the word down the bottom, that are survivors, we can be there to sort of help guide and coach other survivors, to be on the other side and to pay it forward to those that are going through such challenging circumstances. But being able to let somebody know that they're not alone is a beautiful thing, because I'm in a support group on Facebook for women that are diagnosed with breast cancer. And one of the things that so many women have said to me, that I've reached out to, is that, the thought of just not being alone.
Yeah.
It's like the thought of, or not really having to, sometimes when you confronted with this, you don't want to be in a position where you feel like you have to explain every single thing. So the
Hmm.
thought that I can just say to you, and I know you recognize, that's another thing that these women have said they're grateful for. That it's not like, because they got girlfriends that, because they don't have it, they don't have the empathy, they don't, what have you. And so again, it puts us in a unique position just to help those that are coming behind us with, if not the same, like you said, any type of cancer, any type of disease process. It doesn't even have to be cancer, because any disease process plays a number on you emotionally, mentally, and physically. And so,
Very.
yeah,
And half of the battle is just knowing that you're not alone.
yeah,
Because I mean, literally, that is half of the biggest battle. And
yeah,
I feel like the second is awareness. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It makes a person feel 18 times more relieved, when somebody says, you look at somebody, and it's not that you're happy that you have the sickness. You know what I mean?
right.
But I remember what it felt like when I had a friend. Unfortunately, she passed away, but she got diagnosed years before I did. And unfortunately, her cancer was uncurable. But I remember how relieved I felt to see her face when I was inside the hospital. She was on crutches and came up 3 flights of stairs just to sit down. The
Wow.
reason why it tugs on my heart is because the one thing she told me is that somebody was there for me that understood, and I'm going to be here for you so you can understand.
Yeah.
Somebody had to do it for me, so I'm going to be here to do it for you. And it was nobody that God put her in position like that, because she had got diagnosed maybe like 6 years before.
Wow.
And when she came to see me, for all I know, she had been in remission for like 5 years at that point.
Hmm.
Well, I don't want to say remission, but she was doing better. It was
Right.
uncurable, but everything was, the tumors inside her body. She said she was doing great. Her doctor said there was nothing wrong with her. I kid you not, a month after that, she was dead.
Wow. See,
Um,
and that's the thing too with a disease process like this. You can be going along and it looks like everything, and that's the thing that people see. The thing of it is people gotta stop going by what they see and
Mm-hmm.
go by what, you know what I mean? Because some things don't show. You can't see really what's happening on the inside of somebody's body. You can't see pain, and you can't, these things. And so sometimes when people can't see, they don't have the empathy for people. They don't, really allow themselves to show empathy to help people that are dealing with these disease processes. And, I shouldn't have to be scarred up just for you to say, "Are you having a good day?" You know what I mean? I shouldn't have to look like I'm being ravaged, even though I'm being ravaged on the
Yeah.
inside, just for you to show me some kindness.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like that's the biggest thing, right? That is the biggest thing I tell people all the time. Just be kind,
yeah,
because you don't know. I didn't really necessarily look like I was going through cancer because I was young, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I remember going to CVS one morning, and this is how close my walk to faith with God was. I just knew I was going to get better. So I literally had to start walking it like I talked it. Like literally, I would walk around, go to the grocery store, do everything just like I would if I wasn't sick.
Right,
I knew I was sick, but hey, I don't got nobody else to do it for me. And this is going to make me stronger. But I say that to say I walked inside the store, and she told me, she looked at my face and she was just like, these hours are only dedicated for people that have autoimmune, diseases, or, cancer or something like that. And I almost walked out of the store, and I turned back around and I said, ma'am, I forgot. And I know you're going to think that I'm lying, but ma'am, I do have cancer. She looked, and I pulled my toboggan up to show her I was bald. And she was like, "Oh, I am so sorry." I was like, "It's okay," because even I forgot that I had cancer.
wow.
So I didn't put that on her, but it was the kindness that she showed afterwards. She
Right,
went out of her way. From the time I told her that I had cancer, she put everything that she was doing down, and whatever I needed help with, she just helped me. Now, she wasn't giving it to me mean before.
right. But
She
yeah,
wasn't She was just making me aware. But when I made her aware, when she knew better, she did better. And
right,
I appreciated that, because you didn't have to go out of your way. But the fact that you did, I got what I needed, and I got out of the store, and I was able to go home a little bit better.
right,
You
right.
know what I mean? You just don't know what people are going through. So what if they have a nasty attitude? I do. Listen, you ever been through chemo? You have a nasty attitude too. You
If
sleep.
I told somebody, I just told somebody the other day, illness, pain, it makes you mean a
Yeah,
little bit. I mean, it does. And let's keep it real. It does, because you don't feel good. You're tired of hurting. You're tired of, like you said, puking your guts out in
yes.
serious way. And it does. It's like you don't try to take it out on people, but that's why I said just be kind. We just need people to be kind to each other, and it's like you just don't know how far that kindness will go. Because even when people, uh, prime example, in October is always the month that I go for my annual, for my oncology doctor. And so when I went this year, I took like little care packages just to give to the ladies in the waiting room. And this one lady, she right away opened up her package, her package or whatever, and I had a little note in there from me and my name, whatever. And so she called my name out, and she was like, she said she was getting ready to have surgery next week, and she was like, she was going to use these little items in there. I mean, if you just could have seen the expression, Ashley, on her face, that somebody thought enough to just say, "I want you to know I'm thinking about you. I
Mm-hmm.
care." You know what I mean? It just made and it wasn't nothing fantastic. It might have been a little lip gloss, just
Mm-hmm.
something little, but it made that lady's day. Because she said, "I'm getting ready to go through a big surgery." She says, "And I'm going to use this." She said, "This is real." She was just so grateful.
Yeah.
And, and people just don't know that payback from her expression and how it made her feel. That was worth it for me.
it's all it's always worth it. when,
Yeah.
when you literally just want to see them win, it's always worth it, because the smallest gesture, you don't know how far that goes, because you got to think about it. Some people, and especially people like me, I was literally working one day, had a full-time job, taking care of my kids, taking care of my kid. I'm sorry, I ain't got no kids. But
Correction.
I was living a regular life, and literally within a week I was no job.
Mm,
Chemo and radiation was my job. I
mm.
reported there that cancer was my whole life, and I say that to say because it happened literally like that.
Flipping the
So
switch. Yep.
within the blink of an eye. Some people don't realize, I used to get aggravated all the time when people would be like, it would be okay. I said, how do you know that it's going to be okay? You can't just look at me and look at my face and tell me that it's going to be okay and then go on about your business. That makes you feel better about yourself. You don't know that it's going to be better. So why not say? And I told my friends I told one of my friends this one day. I said, instead of saying it will be okay, ask what you can do to help.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask that. It ain't too heavy because some people just want you to pray with them. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel like doing that, some people just want you to sit with them. Some people literally just want to stare off into space. You never know what somebody's stage is, what their life expectancy is. It's the little things. And
Mm-hmm.
people's minds are very fragile when they're going through that. And I know it sounds cliche. It does, because everybody and their mama nowadays is getting cancer. But you still have to realize and be, respectful to the fact that it's a process. It really is.
It is.
And
Yeah.
like I said, the one young lady that's on TikTok that is literally planning her own funeral.
Mm.
I don't know where she got the courage to dig deep down and do that, but that takes courage. And
Yeah.
she actually answered one of my questions on TikTok, and I was very shocked, very, very shocked, but she did. And even my heart was heavy. Even my heart was heavy when she answered it. Like, I was like, I don't even understand how she's getting up, how she's doing it, but I didn't understand how I was doing it then. I
Right.
did. I say all this to say that people, it weighs a lot. It really does. And instead of just looking at a person, I know that, times is hard right about now, but it doesn't take anything just to be kind to a person. Walk with them,
Exactly.
talk to them, ask them
Exactly.
how's their day going? Get their mind off of what they're going,
Right. Keep treating them like a person.
like
See,
a
don't treat them like
person.
a disease.
No.
That's to me, that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. All of a sudden, they got to tiptoe around this. They got, no, be real. Keep it real. That helps them to hold on a more semblance of normality than you all of a sudden now walking around like you're on eggshells and you're afraid to express yourself or say, you know what I mean? Keep
Mm-hmm.
it real. Just stay genuine, with
Very much.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, a regular life. Child, I was in Target. They couldn't let me out that hospital fast. I packed my bags, I put them in my own car, and from there I did my grocery shopping. From there, and I'm talking about, I just had 6 to 7 days worth of chemo, 24 hours.
Wow.
24 hours each time. They don't unhook me until I get ready to go. They hook me up as soon as I get in the door. I would go to my daily errands to go to Target. I needed to go to Starbucks. I went to Publix to get my groceries. You can ask my sister, nobody did anything for me.
Wow.
Didn't want to be treated like somebody that was handicapped. I just didn't. So
Right.
once I got the hang of things, which was very quickly. Now, the first round was scary. It almost took a play out, but I'm gonna tell you, after that, after I finally figure out, how things was moving and grooving, like, no, I was like, you know what, Lord, if you gonna give me the strength to get up and do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't, at this point, sometimes you get so sick that you really not sure, and you know how difficult it is, because one day you could be okay and then the next day you're not,
Yeah.
and I felt like that plenty of days, where my mouth would just start bleeding out of nowhere because I needed a blood transfusion, but I had just had one a day before.
Mm.
But that's what happens when you go through chemo. Your body doesn't have anything to support anymore. So I remember one day I was sitting down on an iron chair and all of my legs started bleeding in the back.
Oh my goodness.
That's just, but that's common for a person that's doing chemo. Very common. If you see people with, burns on their, like I'm saying, like, don't look at a person like they're a freak. You just never know what they're going through.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I've seen the people that have cancer that it has done a lot worse to them than me. And I actually consider myself blessed, even though I had a very, you know, bad cancer. I
Right.
look and I consider me blessed every day because I still didn't go I still didn't go through what a lot of people go
People
through.
have gone through it. That's true. Yeah, I get that. That's why I tell you it's an individual thing. Like one of the ladies, when I was telling her about the radiation, I said, it's interesting. They don't really tell you, for at least in my case with the breast cancer, they just said, you're just gonna get like a little like sunburn. It'll be just like a little sunburn, the effects of the radiation. Oh, they lie. They only, I think because you're going through stuff, they don't really want you to be upset and nervous and worried. Girl, it was like the day after I rung the bell, completing, I did 27 uh, courses of radiation. The day after I finished, I had to go to wound care. Girl, I had skin eruptions all across. I mean, just peeling, raw spaces up. And so for about 9 months, I had to wear the burn gauze and all that stuff. Yeah, they don't prepare you for that right away. I understand why in hindsight, because you would have been freaked out anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like, why not just freak out as you're going through it, not anticipating it happen. But so like you said, when people look at you, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what you're processing. And so
Yep.
kindness is kindness doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost nothing, not a dime,
Yeah.
just for you to do it, just
Yeah.
just to do it. And like I said, me not going through a lot of things that a lot of people went through. 5 rounds of radiation, and I didn't get not one burn.
Oh, beautiful.
But that's what I
Beautiful.
say. I'm like, God, he really that he's really a magnificent person. He really is, because like I said, sometimes some people can go through certain things. Now, chemo wasn't nice to me at all. It
Right.
tore me up. But radiation, although it didn't do nothing on the outside, I'm still having issues on the inside. So, you are absolutely right. Kindness is free, because you just externally, internally, you never know what somebody is dealing with.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't process or carry things the same way at all. So you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Well, the Pink House wants to thank you for your act of kindness and that's in sharing your story.
I'm
That has just been.
at the Pinkhouse let me on here. And if you know anybody else that does cancer interviews, please refer,
Oh, I
because
definitely will, my darling. I definitely will. This has been a pleasure. It's been a dream conversation of mine to have with Miss Ashley Graff. Oh, nope, nope. Ashley Z. I remember. It's an old brain, but I remember. I was like, wait a minute, that's not what she goes by. Miss Ashley Z. And like I said, darling, continued well health to you. You're always going to be in my prayers constantly, and we'll stay in touch
Indeed.
and stay on as I end the broadcast because I need to get some information for you so that I can send you a gift from the Pink House, thanking you for being one of our guests.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.